This is Mike Brewer behind the wheel. Automotive news, automotive advice, and tyre smoking fun. Join me, the Brit with the wit, and my car-loving co-host, Brad Fanshaw.
Hello everyone, it's Mike Brewer behind the wheel, and I'm looking forward to taking you on a journey of motoring, expertise, fun, facts, and all the stuff that we embrace ourselves with, this wonderful hobby that we love, the classic car and motoring world. Now, together, we are going to go down this journey, but the man who always grabs the passenger door, and I do like travelling with him because he's always got the best snacks, he always shouts shotgun whenever I'm hitting the road, is my passenger, and he seems very willing. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Brad Fanshaw.
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
I'm all right, Brad, yeah. Ready for the journey?
I am. I'm always looking forward to these because you take us to the best places.
Anyway, let's hit the road.
Let's go.
How about that then? We're on the road already, Brad, and somebody in front of me is showing off in his car because look at him. He's got a personalised number plate on the back of his car. His personalised number plate says go fast, and I kind of like that on the back of a car. It's individuality, but have you ever done it to one of your cars?
I did. When I was younger, I got a personalised license plate, and it said quick one.
Quick, and I like that.
Quick one, yes.
Yeah, that's a good one to have for ladies.
It did attract attention once. I got pulled over by a police officer, and I was doing a little bit of what they called exhibition of speed.
Nice, I like that.
And he said, you know why I pulled you over and not the other guy? And I said, why? And he goes, because of that license plate.
So you got done for it. I got one actually at home. It's a personalised number plate, not personalised to me as in it's not MB1. I could never own that, unfortunately, because that, I do believe, now belongs to Mercedes-Benz.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I think it used to belong to a very famous entertainer called Max Bygraves.
Okay.
And he had the number plate MB1, but I do believe Mercedes-Benz acquired it. I did have at one time the most expensive number plate at the time for sale in the UK. I didn't actually own the plate, but it was on a car that I bought, and it was A1.
A1,
and that belonged to Shell, the famous petroleum company. They had A1 and A2, and I bought a couple of cars from that company with those plates on, but they took the plates back.
Now, is that a thing in the UK where people have a personalized plate, it gets popular, and other people want to buy it?
Yes, it is. I mean, here in America, you can just apply for a personalised plate, and it costs you $50. It costs nothing. In fact, somebody who's just bought a car from me on this TV show that I do, they've got the number plate WHLRDLR on the back of their car, which I thought was fantastic. But no, personalised number plates in England is a whole market. There is a whole market. Not only do the DMV, or the Driving Licensing Vehicle Authority in the UK, the DVLC, sell them off. They sell them off. They have these auctions where they raise money. But not only that, but personally, people exchange number plates between each other. I've got one that's MOD60. Mod 60.
Okay.
I kind of like that mod culture from the 1960s, so I found Mod 60. And that's a good number plate. A friend of mine is a famous racing car driver. We are going to be talking about racing cars in this podcast.
Yes, we are.
His surname is Jason Plato, okay? And he's got P1ATO. But you put it together on a number plate and it says Plato.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. So a lot of people out there have got personalised number plates and they do shift them around. But what we want to talk about is this number plate that's coming up. Now, the person who's got this plate, okay, they bought this plate in 2008. If you think about, if you're going to invest your money into something, whether it's going to be, are you going to buy in 2008 when the world went nuts, are you going to go and buy a 5-bedroom house in Chelsea for 900 grand, which you could have done probably, or are you going to go and buy yourself for 900 grand? You could have probably have got a fairly rough looking Ferrari, maybe a 275. You wouldn't get a 250. Yes. You could have got a rough looking 275. And then here we are, 10 years later. Your house in Chelsea that you paid 900 grand for is probably worth about 4 to 4.5 million.
Oh, that's a great investment. That's fantastic.
That's fantastic, isn't it?
So why would you buy a license plate?
Right, but your what was the other one I said?
The Ferrari.
The Ferrari.
Yes.
The Ferrari 275. That would probably be worth about 3.5 million.
Still a great investment.
Brilliant
one that you could drive and enjoy.
Of course. Or would you have bought the registration plate with just 2 symbols on it.
Come on. I mean, who would pay $900,000 for a license plate?
With just 2 symbols on it. It only says F1.
Oh, there's some F1 fans out there.
Right. Now, I gather this person who's selling this plate is specifically targeting it to a certain person, namely the current Formula One world champion, possibly, Mr. Lewis Hamilton, or because you have to think about it, this registration plate only works in the UK. Doesn't work anywhere else, does it? It's a UK-derived registration plate. Either you've got to be McLaren, you've got to be
you got to be wealthy.
Well, no, you've got to be UK-based Formula One team, and I'm struggling to think. You've got to be McLaren, or you've got to be who else? Red Bull, I think.
Yeah, Red Bull, and like that.
Based in the UK.
But you've got to have so much discretionary income, because what car are you going to put it on? That's, I mean, the cars that you're going to put it on are going to have to be less than $900,000.
Of course they are. Now let's tell you how much they're looking.
Oh, so he's not selling it for what he paid for
so
it.
we were talking about investment. So we had the flat in Chelsea, the house in Chelsea, 4 million. The Ferrari, probably about 4 million. These people are offering this number plate up for sale currently. This is in pounds, okay? For £14 million. That's
wait. That's like $20 million for a license plate tag.
For F1.
Oh, my God.
So what was the wisest investment? If you come home, just think about it, Brad, right? I know your lovely wife, Charlotte, very well. You know Michelle very well. If we come home with a 30-centimetre by 15-centimetre piece of plastic in 2008 and said, I just spent $900,000, I spent the kids' inheritance on this, Michelle or Charlotte, me and you would have been taken straight down the garage, down the workshop. They would put something of ours in a vice. They'd be searching through the drawer for the rustiest knife they could possibly find, and me and you would be basically, castrated, wouldn't we?
Yes, and my wife would have said to me, she would have said, where did you get $20 million, first of all, to buy this piece of plastic? But, I mean, yeah, okay, that's what he's asking for, but he's got to get it.
Yeah. It's true. And that's another, it's actually a little segue there, because asking $20 million or £14 million is one thing, and that happens in the car world. People often say, I've got a Ford F1 truck. It was, it's been fully customised. It's the most amazing truck you're ever going to see. It's brilliant. Trucks are going through the roof at the moment, especially 50s F1s. I'm asking $400,000 for it.
Yeah.
So it must be the best truck you've ever seen. But what it sells for and what they're asking for it are two different things. Whoever's got this plate, F1, I wish you all the best.
But I've heard rumors that he's actually been offered some money for it.
He was offered $6 million for it. I mean, come on.
£6 million?
£6 million.
That's almost $10 million.
That was in 2013. Now,
and he didn't take it.
He didn't take it, yeah, because he's going, 5 years later, he's now, doubled that. He's over doubled it to 150% more. He wants $14 million.
Wow.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. I genuinely can't see it being sold. I would imagine the only person that could afford this number plate or make sense of this number plate would be the current Formula One world champion, Lewis Hamilton. I gather he has disposable income of $20 million that he could just...
God bless him.
That he can just go and throw around. I'll tell you one thing, though. It's really weird with a registration plate in England that you can buy for expensive money, is you can buy, if it's relative to your business, so in Lewis Hamilton's case, F1 is relative to his business. He can actually buy it and offset it against his tax.
Oh, it's a tax write-off. Advertising and promotion.
Correct, advertising and promotion.
It just blows me away, though, Mike, that any license plate tag would be worth $900,000, let alone 10 or 20 million. And there's very few cars in the world that are worth that much.
Yeah.
I mean, a 250 GT Ferrari, maybe, GTO Ferrari.
That's a really good, but I mean, look, that's really good what you just said. There's probably only, and think about it, it's probably only 20, maybe 30 cars in the whole world that has a price tag to match a 30 centimetre by 15 centimetre.
So are you going to put a plate on that costs twice what the car was, or or whatever that factor is.
Well, we wish the person all the best selling it. As you can see, me and Brad have spoken up your number plate. Plus, we've suggested who you could sell your number plate to. Me and Brad work on a 10% commission on the sale price. So we will be happy to receive any kind of cash sums or any kind of gifts that you want to send our way if you do get that sold. There's
the shop dog.
The shop dog's just walked in.
Just walked in.
Yes, it's lovely. What a thrill.
Hey, I want to tell you something that's pretty exciting since we're talking international happenings and numbers.
Yep.
You know what? We're here in our 5th episode.
Yep. Tell me where we are.
Thanks to the fans, thanks to everybody listening. We launched with our first episode and have not left that number 1 spot in the UK and in several other countries. Isn't that exciting?
That's so good. I got people from all over the world telling me they're really thoroughly enjoying this, and we've gone straight in as the number 1 automotive podcast in the world, and long may we stay here, Brad.
Yeah, because, and top 5 in the US.
Top 5 in the US. What we need you to do, though, and it's a really funky way that they work it on systems like iTunes, we need you to hit that subscribe button, and we need you to give us a star rating. 5 stars would be great, but we need you to do that. Also, please give us a review. Type in what you like and what you don't like. Ask us a question. Me and Brad are checking that all the time, but coming at number 1 is just phenomenal.
Incredible. But you know what? I want to tell you something else that to me was just as exciting. You familiar with ZZ Top, the band?
I know them very well. I actually introduced them on stage once.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Billy F. Gibbons,
yep,
the lead, and he is a huge car fanatic.
Yep.
I'm driving to the studio this morning. Phone rings.
Yeah.
Brad, it's Billy.
Oh, hold on. Let me just pick that up for you. Just drop that big name down there on the
I
floor,
know.
Brad.
And he said, hey, I just want to tell you that I've been listening to the new podcast you're doing with that English gentleman.
Oh, nice gentleman.
Yes, he said, Mike Brewer from Wheeler Dealers. He goes, I thoroughly enjoy it.
Oh,
he
how good is that?
Just keep doing it because I thoroughly enjoy it. Just how you're doing
brilliant.
it. I go, Billy, I really appreciate it. For him to actually,
pick up the phone and
call
you.
and I mean, that's cool.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a car guy rock star endorsement for us.
That is fantastic. I'm going to try and get Sir Paul McCartney to
let's do that.
To listen in because he's a fan and he watches the show and
that'd be great.
He's given me a gift once because he was such a fan. So let's try and get him. If you're out there, Sir Paul, if you could go on iTunes and give us a rating and just write in the little comment section. I really enjoyed it, Mike. Well done. Love you, the Beatles.
That would be incredible.
That would be just amazing.
Yes.
That'd be brilliant.
We could then frame it and put it on the wall.
We can. Okay. Well, that was a nice little segue. Let's go back to the world of racing, right? So we were talking about F1, and we were talking about this registration plate F1. I mean, it might not be for somebody who's in Formula One. It might be somebody called Frank, who is the firstborn in the family, so it could be for him. But no, let's talk about international racing. Now, British people consider Formula One to be the pinnacle of motorsport around the world and probably the number 1 motorsport around the world. But if you're here in America, it is considered to be very different because I have been to many NASCAR races.
NASCAR.
And I've been to many NASCAR races. First of all, Brad, for those of you out there who don't know what a NASCAR race is, tell us how it started, because it was the Moonshine Boys. Tell us quickly a little bit of synopsis about the history of NASCAR and where we are today.
Well, back when they were running whiskey, moonshine whiskey, up through the hills and, Tennessee and Virginia and like that, the guys were getting chased by the revenue cops, the guys who wanted their taxes paid. And they kept hopping up their cars. They would modify them, and they would, get them faster and faster so that the cops could not catch them. Well, all of a sudden, it became a competition between the good old boys who said, well, my car's faster than yours. No, son, my car's faster than yours. And so, you like that?
I like it.
And then they would start, keep doing this. Well, one day they said, we should have a race. Well, that was the roots of NASCAR because those races, those informal races through the hills, grew into a sport. People wanted to see these guys compete.
Yeah.
And the first NASCAR racers were actually moonshine runners with modified hot rods.
Fantastic. And today, so that's where it started.
Yes.
Now let's talk about just a synopsis, when NASCAR is today.
Oh, my gosh. NASCAR now is an American pastime. It is a billion-dollar industry with billion-dollar TV rights deals going on and every major corporation around the world involved. But it's just like Formula One, where Formula One has that air to it of almost like aristocracy. You know, it's so pleasant and it's so polished and beautiful. NASCAR is where the working class guy can go. If he wants to go to the infield, he can sit on top of his motorhome with a beer in his hand and watch the races and root for the drivers, or they can fill the grandstands and just watch these cars go battle to battle. And these cars are tremendous, doing 200 miles an hour with 800 horsepower motors.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
So this is now that's what the snapshot is of what NASCAR is. That's for my Brits back at home or anyone else in the world who's listening who is thinking, I've heard of it, but I don't know what it is. But now let me just tell you a little bit about my British version of NASCAR, okay? Because what Brad said is it is accurate in the sense that these cars, they're at 200 miles an hour on a racetrack.
Super speedways with banked ovals at 40 degrees.
40 degrees. I've tried to walk up one of those ovals. I couldn't even get to the top.
Isn't it amazing?
It's so steep. Yeah, I did the one down at the Rolex 24. Daytona. So I went up the bank in there. I couldn't get to the top of it. Couldn't touch the wall. Now, let me just tell you a little bit about why this is a grassroots sport that makes it for the everyman. Is because the cars that they're looking at on track are cars like a Mustang or a Chevy. They are cars that they fundamentally go into a showroom and buy. They're NASCARs, but they're dressed up to look like the kind of cars that the everyman can go and buy in a car dealership. Now, these cars, they race at over 200 miles an hour. They are bumper to bumper. That is part of the thrill of NASCAR. It's called drafting, which is where one car gets behind another. So they have to race bumper to bumper if they want to be able to overtake each other. It means that the racing is very competitive, very tight. You're always going to see some spills and some accidents in NASCAR. It always inevitably happens.
Sometimes 20 cars at a time.
Yeah. I mean, it's incredible. Absolutely incredible. And then there's this tactical play that goes on. And when I went down to Daytona, I was fortunate enough to be allowed to go up on the roof of the building where the spotters were. So each driver has a person that looks like me and you at the moment, Brad, with a headset on and a Britney microphone in their mouth. And they stand up there and they're talking directly to the driver, telling the driver what's happening on the circuit in front and behind them, and whether they should go high on the banking or low on the banking, whether they should draft the guy in front, hold back, wait another lap because there's a gap. No, they can see that there's going to be a gap opening up a lap or even 2 laps later. And it's like a game of chess. It's like a motor racing game of chess, but it has got phenomenal skill. I've never seen so much skill. And the reason why I say it's got phenomenal skill is these cars are literally scraping a wall as they drive around the outside. They are touching the wall all the way around the outside and each other. They're hitting each other and the wall. And if you want to do that at 200 miles an hour, you must have some gigantic kahunas.
Not to mention the pit crews. These pit crews have gone from, hey, let's get a bunch of my friends to come out and do this, to where they are hiring like former NFL players, soccer players, guys who are, fit because they've got to do it fast and be strong to lift all this stuff.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible. And what I like about it is nobody holds back in NASCAR. I mean, it is proper. There's a little bit of trash talk, which is great.
Yes.
Which is a bit, it's very American in the sense it's a bit WWF wrestling.
Right.
Before, hey, I'm going to get him out on the racetrack. I'm going to do you. I'm going to do you. You're going to do me.
You talk big on the track, Mike, but let's get into the pits. And the guys, no, we're going to do it on the track.
Shake and bake, baby, shake and bake. I mean, it is just like that, and I love that little bit of trash talk. But when they win, in Formula One or in any other form of motorsport, when they win, what tends to happen is that moment of euphoria is inside the crash helmet. And
Yes.
you get to see that inside the crash helmet. Not in NASCAR. When they win, they go straight to the infield. They pop a few donuts. They jump out, jump on the roof of the car, rip their helmet off, throw it into the crowd, jump up and down, scream, shout, holler.
Some of the guys do a backflip off the car.
Yeah, it's just like it's like, yeah, I've won this, and I'm going to show the world that I've won it, and I'm going to share it with you, and I absolutely love it for that. Can I one other thing, Brad? I see.
Yes.
Desperate to die. The audience, the crowd, okay? So when I went to a NASCAR race, I went and I sat up in the bleachers with the grandstands, if you like, with the rest of the audience, and I shuffled in, and I sat down next to this family that were in their Richard Petty tops. You know, every single one of them had their own, you know, NASCAR driver.
They looked like the pit crew, right?
They looked like the pit crew. They were in their full team outfit. They had the huge, great big cooler with all their drinks and snacks and everything inside it. And I sat down next to them, and I tried to broker into a tiny little conversation with the family. Oh, no. No. They were taking it so seriously. They all had headsets on. They're all listening to the chatter between the driver. They were taking it. So I thought, okay, well, I'm getting nowhere here. I'm going to move. So I moved because I'm doing an interview. I'm interviewing people for a magazine back in England. So I moved down the bleachers to another family that looked like they might want to talk to me. Nope, they didn't want to talk. They just wanted to watch that. They take it so
They were
seriously.
laser focused.
Oh, so seriously. And like for a 2-hour race, they were mesmerised by this 2-hour race, and I get it. I absolutely get it.
Now, did you see any of the fans that buy the headsets so they can actually tune into the driver chat?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. When I was trying to talk to them, they all had headsets on. Everyone's listening to the driver's chat.
It's amazing.
It is fantastic. And when these cars do go wrong, when they break down, when they're in the pits, as you say, the pit crew comes out, or sometimes the car gets wrecked at the back, and somehow they get them into that little garage station there, and they work on them. But they don't have what we say is a very good tool in the workshop to use, do they, Brad?
Exactly.
Good segue.
That's a great segue, because our friends at Mechanic, these guys have fantastic stuff, Mike. I mean, we've been looking it over, checking it out, and their newest thing is perfect for this time of year. You ever detail your car?
Yeah, all the time. Do you know the one thing that I love about this hobby, this world that I live in, this classic car world? If you've watched my TV show, you would see all the cars at the end look really clean.
Yes.
Who do you think cleans them? I do.
You did?
I do. I clean all the cars. I love it. I'm a car detailer at heart. I love cleaning cars. When I'm doing it, I'm getting a bit old and a bit cranky these days, so it's hard to be on your knees for a long period of time, and that's why Mechanic always comes in handy.
Well, that detailing rig that they just launched, it's new on the market. It has everything that you just hit. I mean, it has a great cushion that you sit on, but you can also take that off and kneel on it. Yeah. Now, who thought of that? A car guy.
A car guy. It's exactly why I like this stuff, is because it's all made by car guys, people that actually live, breathe and work in the workshop just like us. It's also handy for a person like me because it's got a 350-pound weight maximum.
Now, come on. You don't need that much.
Well, look, my fitness instructor, you may have heard of him, Ronald McDonald. He's really a nice guy, my fitness instructor. He is trying to get me up to my fighting weight of 350 pounds.
There you go.
He's a good man.
Well, the Mechanic detailing rig, it's got a great place to hook on your spray bottles. It has a wash bucket, but you know what's most important?
Go.
Drink holder.
I love that.
If you have an ice cold Coke or maybe a beer, put it right there.
That's what they need in NASCAR, isn't it?
Exactly.
If they can have that in a drinks holder, so when someone like Richard Petty screams into the pits and goes, my car's broken, they go, hold on their Slurpee just before they go and work on the car, sitting on their Mechanic rig. It'd be very good. Reasonable as well. $90 for one of those.
Yeah, $89.99, yeah. And it's all made out of metal. This is not some cheap plastic thing. That's why it can hold 350 pounds. And we're going to just keep telling you about more of these Mechanic products in the future.
Yeah, no, this show is brought to you with the kindness of our sponsors, and this is one that we very, very, very much like, because they actually do real stuff that really does work in the workshop. You want to find out more? Mechanic.com, MyChanic.com. automotive.com. Right, now, let's go back to what we was talking about. Terminology. I love terminology.
Have you ever seen them use the horns at NASCAR?
I have, yeah. It's the chrome horn.
That's
what
right.
They use the chrome horn. What the chrome horn is, so basically in NASCAR they have this terminology, the chrome horn being that, you just bump the other guy out of the way with your chrome bumpers. Basically, I'm coming through. And they often say he's using his chrome horn. Bump drafting. Now, bump drafting is a website that I have actually gone.
Really?
Yeah. Bump drafting is a.
So it's not an architect term.
No, it's not. It's not an adult website either. Bump drafting. It's very good. It's what we was talking about earlier. It's when they draft one behind another. It's to lower the air resistance, the air drag, so they can pop out and overtake.
So they're all going like a freight train. They are inches apart from each other at 200 miles an hour.
It's only the one at the front who's punching the hole in the air.
Yes.
All the rest of them are actually on half throttle.
Now,
He's nailing it. The rest of them are on half throttle.
Driving across this vast United States, I've tried it behind some semi-rigs before.
Yep.
I mean, it works, but it's awful scary
Yes,
at
it's
80
terrible.
miles an
It's
hour. So
terrible.
at 200, when you've got three more guys behind you, and then they do the bump draft where when they're ready to pass that front car, they just give them a little tag,
Yep.
push them out of the way, and then go around.
And off they go.
And it's like a slingshot.
So you've learnt there chrome horn, which is bumping them out the way, and bump drafting, which is drafting. Now, the next one you may hear, if you're ever watching a NASCAR race, is marbles.
Oh, yeah, those are the guys who are the commentators like us. They got marbles in their mouth.
Exactly.
They're talking like this, and you can hardly understand them because, Bobby Allison, he's down there in the pits. And
Exactly.
Oh, not that kind of marbles?
Not that kind of marbles. Marbles is a term that's used in all kinds of motorsport across the world. It's the bits of rubber that come off a tyre that they roll up into a ball and disappear somewhere on the racetrack, only for you to go and find them much later on. And when you do find them, unfortunately, they've turned themselves into little hard marbles. You can skate across them. So you may hear those three terms, marbles.
Now, do you know one of the legends of NASCAR?
I do. He is called Dale Earnhardt.
That's right.
And he has one of, I think, the world's best motor racing quotes.
I know what one you're talking about, but go ahead, lay it on me.
Really good quote. He says, and remember this because I think this should be on a T-shirt, the winner ain't the one with the fastest car, it's the one who refuses to lose.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mike, you didn't say that right. It's the winner ain't the one with the fastest car, it's the one who refuses to lose.
There you go. It comes so much better out of an American mouth than it does my British mouth. Yeah, well done for that. Fantastic.
There's one other fact that I just thought of, and that $20 million license plate.
Yeah.
If you wanted to choose to buy that F1 license plate for $20 million, do you know that you could do kind of a sort of good effort running a NASCAR for a season on $20 million?
There you go. Yeah, you could do. Yeah.
Not even a full effort, just kind of a good effort.
A good effort of running NASCAR or one piece of plastic 30 centimetres by 15 centimetres.
You could put an F1, you could put a NASCAR out there with F1 on the hood for a whole season.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And be the boss.
It's amazing. Yes, amazing. So we urge you, and we haven't finished talking about all kinds of motorsport yet because we're going to talk about another great motorsport in a minute. We urge you, as we are approaching the spring and summer season, get yourself out there, get to a racetrack, go and enjoy it, go and look at these guys, look at the professionalism. It really is good. And dream, dream. Look at those cars on the racetrack and you'll see Mustangs and Chevrolets and all these cars going around at 200 miles an hour and you'll think, I can buy myself one of those. I can do that. And you walk into a showroom and buy, what was that Hellcat thing I see the other day? 800 horsepower.
The Dodge Hellcat and the Dodge Demon.
And the Demon, 800 horsepower from a car that you can drive into your petrol station, just put 87 gas in it.
And when something goes wrong, you take it in for your warranty work.
It's just nuts. It's nuts.
It's incredible.
The one thing I like about America, you started off in the 60s with this arms race, okay, between manufacturers. So you said, like, you had Ford come along, little 260 V8 engine in a Mustang. They come along, and 1967, Chevrolet thought they'd enter the party with the Camaro, and they come in and they go, oh, yeah, you got a. By then you had a 289, and they go, oh, yeah, have a look at this. We've got this bad boy. This is a 327. And then Ford go, okay, let's just another year later, let's give you the 350 GT. And then Chevy go, okay, so you got 350. We're going to introduce the the 396. And then Ford go, oh, you got the 396. Look, they did GT500. And then there's this arms race, right?
It's like a Cars and Coffee.
It is, right?
You know, the one guy pulls in with his, his Ford GT, like you said, a Shelby.
Yep.
Then the next guy pulls in and he goes, oh, I had the coolest car till that guy pulled in the 427 AC Cobra.
There you go. Right?
And then the guy pulls in the brand new Ford GT, right?
Yes.
It's like, wow.
Right, so you have this arms race that never seems to stop, and it's still going on today. What with the Demon, this Dodge Demon blooming thing that's just ridiculous, ridiculous amount. It's like driving a loaded shotgun down the road. In England, we have the same horsepower race, but the engines never change. So we have like Ford in England will bring you a Ford Focus, and it'd just be a 2-litre engine. It's what's bolted to the engine that makes it more horsepower. Whether it's got a bigger turbo, smaller turbo, supercharger, different drive shafts on it. Whatever they bolt to the engine is what makes the horsepower different. And it'd be the same for every other manufacturer in Europe and in England. Here, it's all about engine size. It's like, I want a big engine.
It is. I mean, okay, do you know Bill Goldberg, the famous wrestler?
Yeah, I know him.
Buddy of mine. And
I had him on stage recently. He is a gigantic. He's
massive.
He's massive. He shook my hands. It was like shaking hands with a snow shovel.
I know. He was a pro football player. Then he was, a pro wrestler and a champion there. And now he does movies and film. And he bought 2 Demons.
Yes, one wasn't enough, obviously.
That's right. He needed 1,600 horsepower.
Well, saying that, the size of him, he needs one for each foot, doesn't he?
Exactly. He doesn't fit in many cars.
Like a pair of roller skates. No, he is huge.
That is the problem with being a large man, because you can't drive a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or anything like that.
No, it's very true. You can't get into those. It's funny. Most big people I know in the world, and I obviously worked with one for many years, the car that he can be most comfortable in, those, people 6'5" and up, is a Mini, British Mini.
Yeah, isn't that ironic? But it's true.
It's true.
And does Mini make have they ever done recently? Rally racing?
Yes. There is a rally series that competes around the world. That there are all kinds of manufacturers that enter that, and I do believe there is a mini version of a fantastic FIA World Rallycross car. Now, if you've never seen World Rallycross, or you don't know what we're talking about, me and Brad, this is another one of those motorsports.
It's awesome.
Right. So think of I used to be the commentator or the host, the presenter.
You did
of the World Rally and British Rally Championships. I've done that for 12 years.
We keep peeling away these layers of onion skin on you.
I've got world records. I've got all kinds of things going on.
Good for you.
So when I
watched it on YouTube.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So that's the only place to watch me these days. So when I did the British Rally Championship and the World Rally Championship, I did that a couple of times. When you do that, rally drivers are it's phenomenal. You think you're going to take a car, you're going to drive at 130, 140 miles an hour through forest stages with trees either side of you. Now it's a brilliant sport, and the spectator side of it is a little bit limited in the sense that a rally stage can be anywhere in length from 2 miles to 15 miles or 20 miles. So you need to stretch your crowd out down that stage, and it doesn't become an entertaining sport for the audience. It's brilliant on TV, brilliant from the helicam and the onboard cameras. It's brilliant. But it doesn't. The problem is with World Rallying is it's only got these little pockets of entertainment. So the organisers will choose a smart corner where they're going to slide around a corner, and they will put some safety barriers there, and the audience arrive there. So you'll see your hero go past once. That's it.
It's like Isle of Man.
It's exactly that, right? Yes. Go past once, and then you need to hot foot it in your car and drive to another stage that could be 15, 20 miles away. To get to another corner to watch your hero come past once. So to compete with that, or to combat that, organisers many years ago came up with what they call the World Rallycross Series. And that takes the best of track racing and rally stage racing, and it combines them in one arena.
So you're saying they put all those hot jumps and all those hot corners in a contained area.
In a contained area.
Yeah.
And then they can put these drivers, see, in rallying, it's staged events. So the drivers go off one after another. In rallycross, oh, no. You can do mass starts. So you can get 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of these things all leaving the start line at once in these mass starts, which makes the racing highly entertaining and phenomenal. And I urge anyone out there, just if you're listening to me and Brad now, just we're not going to say pause our podcast.
No, finish listening.
Finish listening, but after you finish listening, just go
after you finish listening, subscribe, then go.
Yes, give us a rating, then go and go and have a look at some rallycross on the internet.
Well, we've had the Red Bull Rallycross Challenge here in America for about 5 years now.
Yeah.
So that kind of primed all this, I think, what might have done, because got people, because Americans, they weren't used to it, as you said. Yeah. And I think that might have given them a little taste of what to expect.
Well, they're going to expect 4 different classes of car, which are going to be phenomenal. 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive. It's going to be all kinds. There's a big race coming up in Austin, Texas. That's in September. That's going to be a good one. The top group cars, so think about this. So they are fundamentally the cars that you would go and buy in a dealership.
Like a Ford Focus or a WRX, something
Correct,
like that.
Yeah, and they are, ready, 600 horsepower. 600 horsepower out there, 2-litre 4-cylinder engines.
There's that 4-cylinder you were talking about just a few minutes ago.
Exactly. So it sounds like it's going to explode in between every single gear. Sounds like it's just.
I love it when they shift those things.
It's brilliant.
Yes.
And they set the suspension up on them very loose, because you have to go for track and gravel. So when they're on the gravel, they look actually really tight on the gravel. But once they get onto the tarmac part of the circuit, you can see the body roll, and these things really do move around. And the racing is so competitive that they frequently swap door handle paint with each other. It's that tight.
It has to be so much fun, Mike.
Oh, it's amazing. I've done it. I've done it. And get this, these cars are so tuned to what they're doing, so they are on a small sprint circuit inside an arena. So it could be, let's say, the Los Angeles stadium.
Yeah.
So it could be inside a stadium.
It's like Supercross or something like that with cars.
Yeah, like Wembley Stadium or any kind of stadium. They're so highly tuned, and it's all about how fast they can get from the start to get there really quickly. They accelerate faster than a Formula One car.
What? No, wait a minute. These little cars with 4 cylinders accelerate 0 to 60? Is that what we're talking about?
0 to 60 miles an hour in less than 2 seconds.
Wow.
Faster than a Formula One car. It's
so
incredible, isn't it?
That is incredible, because it's, you think of them, they're cute little cars, they're jumping, they're turning, but that kind of acceleration is just off the hook.
It is off the hook. So what's your favourite motorsport, Brad? What do you like?
You know what? I really enjoy Formula One. I like drag racing. Here in the States, we get a lot of drag racing. Those are the 2 things I really enjoy.
Drag racing's good.
Yeah.
I like drag racing.
Yeah.
Because it's all over in like a billionth of a second.
Yeah, if you've got a short attention span, you can go, hey, I'm going to watch the next race. All right, I'm done. 3 seconds.
Right, now, we're going to go to question time.
Oh, okay. I like this part.
I like this part because
Yes.
This is where me and you are in touch with the people that are listening, you guys out there. And we love you guys out there. And you have been sending in your questions, and we've had many. We can't answer everyone. Some we're getting to on the internet, but some we think are worthy of reading out. There's a really good one that came in from Sam Hanzelka. Let me make sure I get that right. Sam Hanzelka. Thank you, Sam, for your question. He says that he loves the podcast, first and foremost.
Oh, he's a smart guy. We know that right away.
He's subscribed.
He's a very intelligent man.
He hit the 5-star rating button.
This guy's the best.
He's good, isn't he?
And he was drinking coffee when he sent you the question, wasn't he?
He was drinking coffee because it's coffee stained. The question is very good. He says he's contacting me and you because we're car experts, and he wants to know about what to do with his car. And it's a really good question. He's gone and bought a 1998 BMW 528.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you straight away, right, that 2.8 engine, that fuel-injected 2.8 engine from BMW, is quite possibly one of the best engines ever made anywhere in the world for any car. It is fundamentally bulletproof, that engine.
It's solid.
Solid.
It's a solid motor, yes.
And it is a phenomenal motor. It's been in that actual block for that lump has been in production for many, many years, and there's a reason for that. Is because it really works. It's got a 5-speed gearbox, and he acquired the vehicle. This guy is a proper dealer. I'm not going to say the word, the other word. He's a proper dealer. He acquired it. Guess how much he paid for it, Brad?
Oh, well, you said it's a 98?
It's a 1998 BMW 528 5-speed.
Oh, I don't know, maybe $5,000, $7,000, something like that.
What I would have said. Well, he bought it for $1.
Wait a minute, $1.
$1, 70 pence.
Sounds like one of those SEMA cars.
Yeah, yeah, it does. 70 pence he bought this car for. He said he bought it. It's been sat for a while, 3 years-ish. Due to it getting old, the battery died. Oh. So he's got to buy himself a new battery. What a shame. So the theory is that it needs a new battery, but the gearhead knows that he should probably change some fluids before trying to crank the old girl over. I was wondering if you had any recommendations what to look at and make sure that we do before it goes on its maiden voyage this summer. Well, thank you very much, Samuel. Yeah, that's a great question and one that's worthy of an answer because me and Brad... Okay, over the years, we are two crusty old men, and we have definitely opened up garage doors, barn doors, and found cars that have been sat there for 20 years or 25 years and never turned the engine over. So do you think it's safe to walk into that garage, tip some fuel in it, and crank it? No.
No, absolutely not.
All right, there's a couple of things you have to do first. First of all, on the front of the engine block of that car will be a huge, great big pulley on the front. On the front of that pulley will be a big nut. Okay, you want to get yourself a good socket and a long bar, and you want to, if you can, take the spark plugs out first. Squirt in to each of the cylinder heads some lubricant.
Plenty of it too.
Plenty of it.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't worry about putting it in because it's explosive stuff, so it'll just explode anyway once you start the car up. So put in plenty of lubricant, and then you want to get on that bar, and you just want to make sure that engine turns freely.
Now, Mike, would you say put that lubricant in? Maybe go grab a coffee and then come back and do it?
I would say definitely that. In fact, me, in the past, what I have done, I went to buy a car that had sat in the garage for 17 years, and it was actually locked. It was not completely locked. It was very stiff. What I did is I got some diesel, and I poured diesel down each of the spark plug holes. It was a V8, down each of the spark plug holes, and I left it there overnight, and then I went the next day, and I pulled that lever, and it was easy. It was free. It freed up. So that's a good thing to do. Obviously, when you start it up for the first time, it's going to smoke bejesus, but that clears out quite quickly. And then there's a couple of other things you do. Obviously, you're going to hook up a battery. Once you hook up a battery, keep the spark plugs out. Don't put the spark plugs in. Keep them out. Once you hook up the battery, now hit the key a couple of times, but quickly. So you're just going to go with the key. Just to jerk the engine over a few times. Once you've jerked it over a few times and you know that the engine's going to be rotating, now you can crank that key with no spark plugs in it, and you can hear it go out of each of those spark plug holes. That's your pistons moving up and down, and it will be squeezing out that lubricant that you put in there. It will be pushing that back out, which is good. Now
it's also, if I can interrupt there, what that also is going to do is build up some oil pressure and get the oil throughout the rest of the motor.
Correct. Right. So now I would suggest you put the spark plugs back in. And if you can, and if it's a car that's got a distributor cap, I would unclip the distributor cap and take it off. And this is for the second part, what Brad just said. Now turn the engine over again. So this time when you turn it over, you only need to do it for about, 15 seconds. Turn it over. Make sure it doesn't start. And what you're doing is you're building the oil pressure back up in the engine. Now you can clip on that distributor cap. Check underneath the car to make sure nothing's now pouring out of the car. Because if a seal has gone, if a main seal's gone, an oil seal's gone, once you just pressurize the engine, it's going to be evident. It's going to be dripping on the floor. Do not start the car, right? Either turn around and walk away or find a mechanic who can fix it first. If there is no oil or anything underneath, fingers crossed, get behind the wheel of the car, crank that key and give it a turnover. Now, we are going to tell you as a safety item, do not take that car. Now it's running. Don't take it out on the road. No.
Well, what do you mean? You just started it, Mike. Can't you just take it for a drive now?
No, it's been sat there for how long? So you want to make sure that the brakes work, and you want to make sure that the steering works. So you want to make sure all these components work. Now, the chances are, being a 98 BMW, it's only 20 years of age, it should be fine. It should be absolutely fine. But we would suggest just up and down the driveway of wherever it is, or if you're on a flat piece of land, just drive the car carefully, make sure you apply the brakes, give the brakes a good stamp. You don't want to be out there on the road, somebody tractor pulls out in front of you down a farm track, you stamp on the brakes and you pop a hose because it's frayed and busted or deteriorated because it's been sat there for 20 years. So make sure you stamp on those brakes and make sure that nothing pours out, nothing leaks. So ultimately, what we're telling you is to just be as safe as possible, but pay respect to the car. You know, pay respect to what the car's having to go through. And me and Brad, as car guys, people often ask us, and it's the number one question I get asked around the world, what's the best way to look, careful and maintain a classic car? Well, here's your answer, folks. Drive it.
Drive it, because everything wants to dry up. And I'll give you I have a 560 SEC Mercedes, a classic Mercedes, and didn't drive it for a while. Got in it one day. It sat for just 6 months.
Yeah.
And put it in drive, started to pull out of the garage, looked back in my rearview mirror, and every bit of transmission fluid was on the floor.
Dear.
The seal had affixed itself to the drive shaft when I put it in drive.
Yep.
And why? Because of what you just said. If those seals aren't lubricated constantly, they dry out and they stick, or they dry out and they leak.
Right, let me tell you for why that happens, okay? Manufacturers, when they make cars, they don't just make a car on a computer, print it out of the factory and give it to us. They do thousands upon thousands upon thousands of miles of product testing. These cars pound up and down test tracks all day long, making sure that they are durable and they can work. The moment a car stops working, the moment it does the thing that it's not meant to do and sit there, hoses, clips, fasteners, all these things start to deteriorate. So the best advice we can ever give you with any kind of car is drive it. That 98 BMW that Sam's got for just $1, if the owner of that car would have just done a 15-mile journey in it once a year,
that's right,
we wouldn't be having this conversation. It'd be fine. It'd still be driving. But if it's not having a 15-mile journey once a year, that car you need to make sure that nothing is deteriorated. Rubbers dry out, unfortunately. So just be safe if you're buying a car.
Not to mention some of these fuels now. The fuels here, especially in Southern California, as you know, 30 days, and they start going the other way.
Yes,
and they can do more damage than just having them in your tank. You start that, it fouls out all your plugs. It just clogs up the whole system.
Yeah, and that's a good point. In a car like this 98 BMW, I'm not too sure that's got a fuel drain-off plug. I'm not too sure that car does. But if you do go and find a car that's got that's been sat for a while, look at the petrol tank underneath the car. Some of them do have a fuel drain-off plug, and if they have, just for the sake of a few dollars or a few pounds, undo that plug, drain the fuel away, get rid of it, and just put some fresh fuel in the car. It really does make all the difference. Right, enjoy that journey?
I did. I had fun, as always. We had fun talking about $20 million license plates. And now, where are we gonna grab a bite to eat?
Right, I've got my personal trainer. I've told you his name.
Yes, Ronald
McDonald. He has made sure that me and you are going to have a fantastic lunch. But before we do, right, I want to tell people what we're going to be talking about next time.
Oh yeah, we got a great show coming next time.
Yeah, we got California lifestyle.
That's always good.
It's good.
We like that.
I've embraced that. We got mansion marketing.
Okay, mansions. There's lots of those in Southern California.
Yes, I wish I could afford
and
one.
In London.
We got the Malibu Automotive Museum.
Okay.
Or mansion, should I say?
The mansion?
Yeah, the mansion.
Oh, you're talking about my dream house.
Yeah,
I know
talking about your dream house.
My dream house.
I want to talk about that. One of the most iconic brands in the world, driven by Mr. James Bond himself. Aston Martin are introducing the DBX.
DBX, and there's rumors that we're going to talk about a rumor.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. It's going to be
Yes.
good. And people are often asking me, where do I go and find my cars? Where do you go and get a car? There's so many websites out there. We're going to just name check one of them, and I'm going to tell you how good it is and how well it works for me. So we're going to be talking about where to find some cars. Plus, we'll be looking to take a question from a member of the audience. So if you've got a question for us, make sure that you contact me at Mike Brewer BTW, at Mike Brewer behind the wheel. You can ask me and Brad a motor and related question. If they want to talk to you, Brad,
They can find me on social media, Brad Fanshaw, except for Instagram, where it's at BonSpeedBrad.
Bond Speed Brad.
BonSpeed.
Do you know what? I'm glad I'm doing another podcast with you because I was invited recently to the new launch of the Ford Focus.
Oh, you were?
I was, yeah, in Shanghai.
We should talk about that.
We should talk about that as well. Unfortunately, I'm not going to do the launch of the Ford Focus, and I'm a Ford brand ambassador. The reason I'm not doing it is because I'm going to be sat with you talking about it, and that's why. But if you want to get in touch with Brad or me, make sure you find us online. We want to thank Mechanic for their sponsorship this week.
We appreciate it.
We do appreciate it. And keep in touch, everyone. And it's been great to talk to you. And the journey has now, Brad, come to an end.
Hey, the journey always continues. Thanks, everybody. This show brought to you in part by Bond Speed Wheels. Bond Speed Wheels, machined in America for cars, trucks, hot rods, and exotics. We make wheels for your lifestyle. Find us at bondspeedwheels.com.
If you need to get in touch with me or Brad, you can do. Ask us any question you like about motoring issues or a motoring related thing. If you've got something that you want to do to your car and you don't know how to do it, you want to sell your car, you want to advertise your car, you want to buy a car and you need some advice, then please reach out to us. You can find us on Twitter at Mike Brewer BTW. See what we did there? Genius.
Is that for behind the wheel?
It is. There you go.
Wow, how did you come up with that?
It's so good, isn't it? And we'll see you all next week.
This has been a Bond Speed Media production from Circle B Studios. If you like this show, also listen to Shift and Steer, Man Seeks Adventure, and Dixon's Wild Ride. You can subscribe to them on iTunes or visit their websites. If you'd like to reach Bond Speed Media, you can do so at bondspeedmedia@gmail.com.